going to take back Los Angeles. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Ron. Our next speaker is one of the most, he's one of LA's top talk show hosts for this popular program, Doug McIntye in the morning on KABC Radio. He's a former TV scriptwriter, amateur historian, and he and his wife, actress Penny Pfizer, recently released their feature-length documentary film, Trying to Get Good, the Jazz Odyssey of Jack Shelton. You'd please welcome with a real big round of applause for Doug McIntye.
By the way, I brought a coat. Boy, look at this crowd. This makes the Ross Perot Reform Party convention look like the Daughters of American Revolution. Now, you know something? We can joke about this gathering, and this is one of the many insults piled on top of the injury that Los Angeles government and the power structure has imposed on us, is that they make us that care feel like we're the nuts. And so they'll write off a Zuma dog or a Mayor Sam or shamefully and shamelessly Jamil Shaw Sr. and Anita Shaw, who are here today, and make them like they're the crazy people because they have the audacity to actually care about the city that they live in. And for all the $500,000 a year that we spend in calligraphy on Scroll Day every Friday, I don't know if you watch Channel 35, it's my favorite form of non-reality reality programming. But the City Council and its various offshoots cannot speak for 30 seconds without talking about the rich tapestry of diversity in Los Angeles as a source of strength, when in reality they have diversified us into disunity and disharmony. That they literally, and I know that this sounds like your grandfather's civics class, but that concept of e pluribus unum has been turned on its head in Los Angeles. And it's interesting because when you travel outside of LA, you don't say, when someone asks where you're from, you don't say that you're from Echo Park, you don't say that you're from Compton, you don't say that you're from South Central, you don't say that you're from Sherman Oaks, you say you're from Los Angeles. But as soon as we come back here, we start dividing ourselves into different categories, into different geographic neighborhoods. The LA Times for years published a Valley edition of the paper as if somehow those people over there are a different breed of cat. Well, they might be right about that, but the point is that they find endless, ceaseless ways to divide us, whether it's political, because I'm in talk radio, therefore I'm a right-wing nut. Somebody else is from East LA, therefore they're part of the Reconquista. If somebody's from South LA, they've got to be automatically assume that they're going to have to be voting this way, or they're the bus riders union versus commuters. It's a constant, endless, ceaseless capacity to divide the people of Los Angeles whilst talking about unity, when they are the great dividers. And that's why we need to at least come together on some core principles, some basic principles, that Los Angeles is an important place. It's not, it's almost like in some ways we've bought into the New York bias against Los Angeles, all the jokes that when it's 2:30 in New York, it's 1953 in Los Angeles. You've heard them all. Okay, but it's a very, very important city, but it's not being run like it is. It's being run like a private fiefdom. It's being run by a privileged few and by exploiters and by opportunists. And it's terribly, terribly sad. And here's the saddest reality of all. We collectively have allowed them to do this. And this is the problem. Because, unfortunately, this big pointy building back here, it's called City Hall, and the only way people seem to care about this is if a movie star is here, or if some kind of circus sideshow event happens, as opposed to the daily civic participation of millions of Angelinos in the city that matters. We can fill the streets of Los Angeles with national issues. Bush is Hitler, or Bush is God, whatever your issue is. We can get all kinds of people to save the planet, but we can't get people to save the schools. Now, why is that? Why is it that we went from having a public school system that was once really the envy of the nation to what's become a national embarrassment, in far too many cases, a stepping stone for prison. This is unacceptable, and yet we have accepted it. How is it possible that Jamil Shaw II could be murdered on the 2nd day of March, and on the 14th day of July, Jack Weiss has refused to allow Jamil's law, even Dennis Zion's version of it, out of the Public Safety Committee? How have we allowed that to happen? Because we have allowed that to happen. We have allowed that to happen. No, we need to get involved and to drag, kicking and screaming if necessary, 3 of our friends or possibly enemies, but we need to drag our fellow Angelenos with us into this process, because the political process has collapsed here. We don't have a two-party system, we have a one-party system. It reminds me, Woodrow Wilson, when he was president of Princeton University, was asked about the viciousness of academic politics. And he said the reason academic politics is so vicious is because the stakes are so low. Well, it seems to me that that kind of applies to the way City Hall is run. In far too many instances, the politics is about turf battles between elected officials, and the public are just kind of like cannon fodder that they need a few votes in order to perpetuate the system. But the stakes are decidedly high, because we have crime, we have gangs in this city that are slaughtering people, that are destroying neighborhoods. We have an army of occupation here. We have stories that we report on a daily basis that if you change the date line from Ladera Heights or from South Central, you can make it Najaf or Fallujah, and the stories would be perfectly at home, and it's totally unacceptable, and yet we've accepted it. The encyclopedias, every encyclopedia set you can buy has an entry on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. What happened back then in Chicago? Some gangsters killed other gangsters in a garage. That happens every weekend in Los Angeles. And we cover it like it's checking the box scores from the Dodger game. How many kids got killed this weekend? How many more kids have to get buried? Before we said we're not going to do it anymore. We're not going to allow this to continue in the streets of our cities. So we might be Democrats, we might be Republicans, we might be green, we might want to pave the whales. I don't care what your politics are. Can't we at least agree that kids shouldn't be murdered by other kids? Is that too much to ask? Apparently it is. Apparently in the big pointy building behind me, it's too much to ask. Because what they're doing is what Ron Kay talked about. They're waiting you out. They're waiting until you drop dead of heat exhaustion. They're waiting until you get carpal tunnel from hitting speed dial on your phones. They're waiting until their staff is tired of deleting your emails and you give up. They're going to wait you out until apathy wins. And that's why it is so appropriate that Ron picked Bastille Day, July 14th, for this little gathering, these little seeds of activism. Because to me, this is the Vichy government of Los Angeles. This is a collaborative government. These are collaborators with the gangs. They're collaborators with the destruction of the public education system. They're collaborators with the circling of middle-class life, of punishing the productive for homicidal parasites, and they're not going to stop unless we make them stop. And we're going to need a lot more than this crowd. Nice beginning, Ron. Congratulations. We cheer you. We celebrate. But go forth and multiply.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you. Thank you for taking your time here. Our next speaker is going to be speaking about education.
No, I got you.
It's Sandra Singh Low. She's an